Oh, my friend, the book of Job is so full of there's so much discussion about the nature of God, the character of God, and dealing with circumstances that are difficult in our lives, and why it is that He allows the things that He allows. But it's more of His sovereignty over the affairs of man, because when you're hurting, He's in control. He already knows what's going on in your life. He won't stop looking at you long enough for you to spit, for you to swallow, for you to blink. He won't stop caring for you. He's God. Chapter 19 of Job, we were talking about how Job has a lot of servants that his family, had left him and rejected him because they saw his wealth, his prosperity, his title, all stripped away. All he had left was the rocks for which he was scraping his skin and the wounds and just feeling like complete, utter despair. That's all he had left. Chapter 19, verse 23 says, "Oh, that my words were written and inscribed in a book, to be engraved in a rock forever." And they are. They're right here. But this is the best part right here of chapter 19. Though Job has suffered all of these things, he still says this, and this is our hope right here. "As for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and at last He will take His stand upon the earth. And even after my skin is destroyed, in my flesh I shall see God. Though my flesh be destroyed, I shall see God." That is hope of the resurrection for us all. Though everything else will be destroyed, we will see God. Chapter 19, verses 23 to 26. Highlight that in your Bible and remember that anytime calamity strikes you, turmoil strikes you, stress, the realization that we will all be resurrected unto Him, those who have trusted their souls to Him. That's all it is. That's all it takes, is trusting ourselves to Him. Chapter 20 continues. Zophar, one of Job's, I call them anti-friends, because really, they're not really friends. Zophar talks to Job a little bit in chapter 20, and Job responds in 21, reminding basically that all of his possessions are gone. He was in a house of noblemen, and everything that he had is now gone. Some servants remained, but all that he treasured was gone. His titles, his wealth, all of that was gone. He was no longer the dean of academics at Yale or whatever, or a professional PhD or a brain surgeon, any of that stuff, any of the CEO, any of that, it's gone now. And chapter 22, Eliphaz goes ahead and gives a little speech. Once again, back and forth. It's pretty interesting to read. Chapter 23, Job responds to Eliphaz and says, Oh that I knew, if I knew where I might find him," talking to God, "and that I might come to his seat, and I would present my case before him." Well, you can find him. You can go to God through Jesus, because He is God in the flesh as a man on the throne of God, so that we could go to Him. He's our mediator. He's the access. And it says here, when we are tried, we will come forth as gold. And we are tried. We are indeed tried. Don't ever think that Christianity is going to be an easy one-way street and all the wealth and prosperity sermons out there are hogwash. Because God does plenty of things with every single individual on this planet, and our wealth and our influence, our position comes from Him, not from any ordained earthly or worldly title structure. Ordination's good. Ministry is good. We learned that when we talked about David and Saul. It's important for us to honor the ones that God has put in command of ministry in different areas. And we're all in ministry when we follow Him. In chapter 24, Job continues on. Chapter 25, Bildad starts talking to him. Bildad the Shuhite. It's very short now. Then chapter 26, Job talks to Bildad. Chapter 27, he continues on a little bit more. And 28 continues on. Again, he speaks of wisdom, and where can we find wisdom? Where is its place? Is it not in the land of the living? All of these great and valuable pieces of gold and silver are nowhere near as valuable as wisdom. And he understands that. Job knows that wisdom is above all other things he could need. And it says in chapter 28, verse 23, God understands the way, knows the place. He looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under heaven. He's imparted weight to the wind, meted out waters by measure, when he sets limit for the rain and a course for the thunderbolt. When he saw it in clarity, he established it and searched it out. Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Right there, the fear of the Lord is wisdom. To depart from evil is understanding. God is a God that controls the weather itself. The very course that lightning strikes, God has already predestined. Everything, every drop of rain, there's nothing on this earth that can occur without His foreknowledge. So yeah, He's going to know about your issues, your problems, your situation, your circumstances. And He knows what's going on in your life right now and where you need Him to minister to you. Chapter 29, more on Job. And it talks about how he had a position. He was a nobleman who, when he came to the city gates, all of the men stood up to listen to him talk. The orphans were fed by his hand. He delivered the poor. He lifted people up. And this wasn't a bad guy. This wasn't a huge, we use the term huge sinner as if there's a quantity of sin that one person can have to another one that would make them any more or less susceptible to God using them in this way. God was using Job to minister to people around him, his life to us. Anytime you go through circumstances and situations, I talk to my wife about that all the time, all the struggles that we had to have children for years, pushing through all the different ways that we could get to finally have kids, are so that we can minister to other people who have struggles. Because the last thing you need is for people to say, why don't you have kids yet? When you've spent a couple years trying everything. And I am thankful for modern medicine. I am thankful for God giving science and doctors wisdom and knowledge and insight on how to do things to help people have children that couldn't otherwise have children. I am blessed by that and amazed by that. But it's also an opportunity for us to minister to other people. That God can do anything and will do anything in His way and His time. Chapter 30 continues on with Job. And then chapter 31, just the first verse here. I have made a covenant with my eyes. I will not gaze upon a virgin. The portion of God from above, the heritage of the Almighty from on high. I am telling you right now that chastity, purity of mind, purity of heart, the covenant relationship that you make with your future spouse or with the spouse you have now comes from the wisdom of setting yourself apart as a holy creature set apart for God for someone else. And that's what I did when I was young. When I was in high school, I set myself apart. I said, Lord, I'm going to wait to be married. I am going to set myself aside. And I pray that you also give that same desire to my spouse. And He did. There was a quote. I was watching a Stephanie Meyer commentary on one of the Twilight movie things, and she and the other producer or director or someone was talking about how uncommon or how completely ridiculous in this modern world it would be for Edward and Bella, who are real people, not vampire stuff, but for them to just not, do anything. And to remain virgins until their wedding day. How crazy that is in this time and age. I'm thinking, sorry, me and my wife did it? My best friend and his wife did it? I understand. It's not that bad and uncommon. It's a good thing. But God created all people, slaves and masters alike, all people And that's the main thing we get out of these chapters. And we're going to get into chapter 32 in the next video. And I see that my covenant wife is trying to dial in, so I'm going to answer the phone. Shalom, my friend. You have a good day. And keep these things in mind. Because remember, God hears everything and knows everything about what's going on in your life. Yay, my friend.